Hello everyone, my name is Rubal Verma and we are here for the second episode of the series from BDC TV on immigration issues that the Indian immigrants face in the US. I have today here with me Mr. Arafat Khan, Mr. Rajesh Kumar and our attorney Mr. Surinder Ahluwalia. We welcome everybody.
Hi, Rubal. Hi.
So I'll let my panelists introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, my name is Arafat Khan. I work with a financial services company here in Wellesley, and I have been in the United States for over 12 years. I've also been in the green card backlog for the last 8 years now.
Hi, my name is Rajesh Kumar. I've been in the United States for 11 years, and I've been waiting in the green card backlog for 6 years now, so I'm hoping to,
My name is Surinder Ahluwalia. I'm an attorney out of Quincy and Lowell, and I have a general practice focusing on civil matters, including immigration.
So before we begin the discussion, I would just like to remind our audience that this is a general discussion. So if you are a student or an H-1B or an L1 visa holder working in the United States and you need help with your legal issues, you can refer to Mr. Surinder Ahluwalia on his website, and his details are also on this video. But this discussion should not be taken as a legal opinion. Thank you. With that, I would like to go ahead with the first issue that we are facing, Mr. Ahluwalia, the specialty occupation that the administration has just brought in, and they have been rigorously checking each and every application. So I would like to hear from my panelists, like, what do they really feel about this?
So let me take this question from a perspective of fresh H-1B petition. One of the regulatory changes that I welcome is the establishment of an electronic registration system for the H-1B petitions, especially for the ones that are going through the gap, like the fresh H-1B petitions. Now, this is going to help USCIS because they'll be able to efficiently manage the intake of these H-1B petitions, and they'll also be able to look into the job market and see what the actual requirement is, so that they can approve these petitions based on the actual requirement, and eventually they'll be able to replace the current random lottery system that is there in place, which doesn't provide a valid way for verifying the qualifications included in these H-1B petitions.
So if I understand you right, you mean like instead of grilling the people who have already been here for the last 10 years and working on certain skill sets that are no longer a specialty occupation, the government should actually be looking at the new incumbents who are coming here, right? On the new H-1B, right?
That's very much right.
Rajesh, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, regarding the specialty occupation, people still have like a cloud of confusion. So they are not sure like what exactly it is. So due to this confusion, many people are in like fear and panic. Even the people who have been in this country for like 10 or 15 years and who are still in their H-1B, they are concerned about it. So they need to know, like if USCIS or DHS puts forward like these are the things we are going to enforce, then the people will be like, people can calm themselves down and not be in panic mode.
So it's more like USCIS has not been able to develop the trust that they should have with the H-1B folks, right?
Right.
Ahluwalia, do you have something?
The way I would respond to your question and some of the concerns is, first we should acknowledge it's a non-immigrant visa, meaning we are here on a temporary basis. And if we are fortunate if you have a job, the same job for 10 years. Today, I think with the passage of time, if people have been here 10 or 20 years, an occupation that was determined to be a specialty occupation in 1980s and 1990s may not be so today.
Right.
Right. A good example would be like a coder or a programmer which in 1980s and 1990s, people were able to come in on an H-1B. And today that same coder or programmer can get that by doing a 2 years degree.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that's the reason, if there is a shift in why the Department of Homeland Security has to keep reviewing the qualification and the position. So what I would say is there is a lot of misconception in the community about enforcement and whether it's improper or incorrect. The law itself hasn't changed, which is it's the H-1B is for it's a specialty occupation, and the section 214 describes it as the theoretical and practical application of highly specialized knowledge. And the minimum requirement for that is a bachelor's, not a 2 years degree, not a 6 months degree. And I think the difference between the 1990s or the early 2000s today is that it's just the demand and the unemployment or employment situation. Anytime there's a higher unemployment here, then the immigration authorities would scrutinize the applications a lot more to make sure there's no misabuse. And I would say to the folks who've been here 10 years and plus to use this time wisely, maybe go back, do continuing education so that the skill sets improve and increase with time. That's especially if you're on H1, that's something I always recommend, that you do your master's or go in for PhD in the evening so that you don't get caught in this trap if you're here for a long time.
That's a very good point. That's absolutely correct. Like H-1B visa holders should not let them themselves go out of date like the software. They have to keep them updated of the technology and be a specialty worker all along. Thank you. Very valid inputs. With that, I would like to go to my next question about H-4 EAD. H-4 EAD is the work permit given to the spouses of H-1B visa holders after they have completed a certain number of years in the US and have something called as an approved I-140. Note that all H-1B visa holders don't have the eligibility to have their spouses work. As of now, there are very few H-1B work holders in the US, but these H-1B work holders are at the verge of losing their work permit after USCIS has showed their intent of repealing the H-4 EAD work authorization. So I would like to put this to Mr. Ahluwalia, like, is this something, the H-4 EAD, as we all know, it took many years of struggle before the spouses were even allowed to work for it, and now this administration is taking it away. Is there a legal basis for the H-4 EAD work holders to file maybe a lawsuit or somehow stop USCIS from taking away their rights, their lives away from them?
Just go back a little bit and then answer your question about the lawsuit. So as you know, the H-4 EAD was enacted, came into force under President Obama, I believe it was in 2015, and it came into force by an executive order. So it wasn't really a law, it was an executive order that was passed by President Obama. And so I understand there's been discussion, or at least news, that the new government, President Trump, is thinking about it, but that has not happened as yet.
Yeah.
So obviously there is a fear, and it's clearly within President Trump's power, if he so decides, to repeal the executive order by his own executive order, or he could even, just by instructing the Justice Department and the Homeland Security or the Immigration Services, slow the process by further scrutinizing applications, right? So they can, if they decide to go down this path, they can make life difficult for the spouses. And but that's where it is right now. Like I said earlier, there is been no actual executive order, and I personally do not believe one would happen. It's also my understanding that some of the associations related to immigration work have started, or maybe in the process are ready to file suits against the Justice Department or the immigration services related to this.
Would it be right to say that to have any sort of legal basis, we sure do need plaintiffs who would come forward with where they have made contributions to the U.S. economy and present how their life has been affected with taking away H-4EAD and like file a lawsuit, right?
Once the law is repealed, only at that time you would have the opportunity to go to a local attorney and see what legal options you may have.
Looks like there is a legal basis. I'm sure that the crowd is actually that is affected by the H-4EAD issue should come forward and like work towards it. Let's ask our other panelists on how they feel or what they are actually doing to counter the H-4EAD repeal order.
As a constituent of Massachusetts, so I contacted the House Representative Catherine Clark of Massachusetts, and I also contacted the Massachusetts Senators Elizabeth Warren and Senator Ed Markey, and I reached out to them and I requested them like repealing the H-4EAD will it's repeal, like taking away the rights of the women and spouses, mostly like who like not all H-1B spouses are eligible for H-4EAD. Only the people like H-1B applicants who have been like waiting in the green card process,
right,
only their spouses are eligible for those. So we are like, as a constituent, I reached out to them and like raised my concern. They need to make this a law and help these people, and these people should not be affected like every time a government changes. They should make this a permanent fix. So that's what each and every constituent should do also.
Right.
Reach out to the Congress, representative and senator and ask them to take action.
Rafat, what would you have to say?
So basically, this problem here, in this century, canceling a woman's authorization to work is like, going back in the past,
Right.
where we did not allow women to either work or drive and things like that, right? So this is actually a subsidiary problem of the parent problem that we have is the green card backlog.
Exactly.
Right? So, and moreover, if you see, the number of H-4 EADs that have been issued is only 0.5% of the entire job.
0.05, right?
0.05 of the entire job market out there. So it is a very small portion of it. That's something that one should note, right? So it only helps improve the economy, adds, brings money into the system, and it doesn't hurt the economy in any way. And if you look at it from a socio-economic standpoint, and the resulting financial insecurity that it presents, I'm afraid that it could lead to domestic problems for women. So it canceling this work authorization, it not just hurts the economy, but also it's impacting the society that we are living in today.
Very well pointed out, Rafat. Thank you, guys. So with that, I would like to go to my next question. This is related to the STEM students. As we all know, there are over 1 million students that come to the US every year as international students on F and J visas. Over 300,000 students, yes, you heard me right, it's 300,000 students come from India to the US every year for their master's degrees. And a few of them also do their bachelor's. The administration has just uh, updated their policy on the ability of these students to work after their graduation, which is also known as the OPT. Typically, STEM students get 36 months of work permit, while other students who don't have a STEM degree still get like 12 months of working period. The administration has recently indicated that these students cannot be placed at third-party work sites, which would mean a contracting or a consulting company cannot place a student with Amazon, Microsoft, or any other tech company. So let's ask our panelists what do they feel on this restriction that has been imposed by the administration.
So for the OPT students, like the students who are coming in, they are not eligible on like scholarship or federal aid or any other things, any assistance for their education. They come here, they either like take educational loans from India, they spend a lot of money on like their own money. Once they come here, only after like the time of graduation, they realize like they don't have many job opportunities. So they need to plan ahead, like, and know the situation very well, and to know like the rules and regulations of the OPT and the OPT extension, and not to run into problems later on. So it's better advice for the students to know the exact law and regulations before they come here. So, and also like there is this system called E-Verify, and like companies like they need to be E-Verified for the students in order to be eligible to work for that company. So students who are like planning to come here study, they also need to start applying for companies who are E-Verified, so they can get placements soon rather than like before the time runs out on OPT or on OPT extension.
Rajesh, you brought a very important point that students must be aware, especially the students who are planning to come to the US, must be aware of the rules and regulations that they have to go through. Yes, it feels really awesome to have 36 months of work permit and to be able to work for great companies in the US, but it is not by default. And like we are all seeing, like the USCIS and Department of Justice and Homeland Security and the administration, everybody together is trying to implement the Buy American, Hire American, and they're trying to scrutinize every application, especially the people who have been working here for many, many years. Students who are coming from India have to make sure that their career is not at stake and that they will have enough opportunities after they graduate and will not stuck with their loans. So, Arafat, do you want to add something to it?
Well, sure. From what I've seen, speaking to some of these graduates who have recently graduated, and they are forced to go back to the universities and retain their F1 visas while they continue to be on the OPT program. So that's another additional burden that's on the students. If they are not able to secure themselves with a job through a company. So that's something that the student should be aware of. When they are not able to secure a job, then there are other options also that they should pursue.
Let's hear from Surinder ji, who has been here for a while and who also happens to be of Indian origin. What his advice is on for students who are about to come or are almost graduating from university.
Well, I'd start by saying what I said at the start of this panel discussion, which is like the H-1B, the student visa is a non-immigrant visa, meaning somebody's coming to the US for a temporary purpose, and in this case being to study. And I would say that the law gives them a privilege of being able to work in the United States after completing the studies, right? So that's an opportunity given to them. And the new regulations that did come out in 2016, or I should say that's when the rules were finalized in 2016, which was allowing STEM students, which is people doing in sciences, maths, and computer sciences, were able to extend their OPT practical training from 17 to 24 months. At the same time, the government, Department of Homeland Security, wanted to make sure that the system was not being abused, right? So many of the safeguards that one could look at as negatively are really put in there to make sure that the students who have devoted their time to come here, spend the money, are not abused by traffickers, right, whether it's consulting firms or other type, and sent off to jobs not to that would enhance their careers, but essentially to get a job and which would not be in keeping with their original intent. So essentially, if you looked at what the rule essentially said was that if you want this extension, or the people who want to go on to OPT after this rule came in, must go and work for a E-Verify employer.
Right.
E-Verify employer just means that an employer has taken the time to register with immigration and be open to audits if
Right.
immigration decides to audit them. The other thing that the rule actually finalized was that there should be an actual employer-employee relationship. And that was because by sending somebody to a third party, the actual employer had no say in it,
Right.
and wouldn't know what was happening with the employee except once a year or once, at the end of the program. And lastly, what the new rule now does require is that both the employee and the employer submit a plan of how this employment will enhance, how the training will enhance the education. So I think this is all for the benefit of the students. And granted, it's a little bit of a hardship in terms of the effort individuals have to put in, both the employers and the employees. But I think it's a great opportunity for folks who've come here to do higher studies to really use it to their best advantage.
Seems like what you just mentioned, the OPT is actually defined to, like the term says, optional practical training. So it's an optional opportunity that a student can or may not take if he doesn't want to. It's not a job. It's not a job offer. It's also not a job opportunity to be able to work here. It's an opportunity for a training to get trained in the domain that you are studying. So if you are, please correct me if I'm wrong, if you're approached by any consultant or anybody, any trafficker, promising you a job after graduation, or in some cases they promise you a day one job on CPT, it's actually illegal to come here with the intent of staying here, right?
I think that's the prerequisite for a non-immigrant visa.
Right, right. Thank you, Mr. Ahluwalia, for explaining that. And with that, before going to our next question, let's take a short break. These problems that we are seeing, the H4 dependent kids, the specialty occupation requirements for the H1B workers, the H4 EAD for the spouses, or the challenges for the STEM students, all arise from the core problem of green card backlog. While everybody waits 50 to 70 years, or the STEM students might not be able to get their green cards in their lifetime, let's hear from our panelists what do they have to say about the green card backlog. Arafat,
Yeah.
I'll start with you.
So, I've been in this green card backlog, as I said, for over 12 years. And as I've built my career over here, and I've also, trained a lot of fresh graduates who came out from the universities, and I've joined my institution. I've helped build their careers and groomed them, and they have moved on to other jobs, and they have developed themselves in their lives, improved financially also. But because of the green card issue, I have not been able to progress further in my career, as well as there is a problem of job mobility where I have to retain with the same employer, and that has not really helped my career. And the other problem is, I understand this is a temporary status for a very long duration, but the investments that a lot of us have done over here, the mobile as well as immobile assets that we have here, because if an extension doesn't go through, then we are forced to settle everything as quickly as possible within less than a month, and then completely relocate from one place to another. So that really increases the uncertainty and anxiety around what happens in this situation where the extension doesn't go through, or a visa is not stamped, or all the concerns that come along with the green card backlog issue here.
Right. So I see you as an individual who is not only training the other American workers, or who is contributing to the nation building by investing in it. You are yourself stuck in this uncertainty where you're hanging by a thread, that if one day you lose your job, or you, let's say, have to leave your job to change, to go to a different role, you cannot do that, because you have to start the process all over.
Right.
Rajesh, what do you say?
Yeah, like you said, Rubal, so green card backlog is the root cause for all the other legislative legal issues immigrants face in this country, especially Indians. Like, say, H4 EAD. So if you see H4 EAD spouses, they are suffering, like their work permit is at risk of being revoked. So if you see, like, H4 EAD is given to spouses of H1B applicants who have applied for the green card, and like they have been waiting in the green card backlog for many years. So if the green card, like if you look at the green card backlog, so every year they give out only 7%. They have a 7% per country limit, and this issue, the Congress has been like introducing many bills to address this, and they haven't addressed this in the past Congress. So at least in this Congress, they've introduced bills in the House and the Senate. In the House, there are bills called like HR 392, Fairness for High Skilled Immigrants Act of 2017.
Right.
And in the Senate, there are two bills, S 2344, I Squared Act, and S 281, Fairness for High Skilled Immigrants Act of 2017. So these are the bills in the House and the Senate, which will address the root cause of the issue. So if we are no longer in backlog, so I just, from my personal view, like these are the things I've seen. Like, so while you are in H1B and waiting for a green card, you cannot even take a break between the jobs. If you're like, say, like if you're working for an employer A and you want to take a break of 1 month, you cannot stay in this country on H1. You have to go back to your home country and then come back in with the new visa stamp for the new company.
And this is when you have a house, your assets, your car, and your kids are probably going to school by now, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I hear you. But like you pointed out, the HR 392, we know that there has been a huge support to that bill, and there are over 300 co-sponsors to it. But there has been no action by the government. What do you suggest for our audience to do at this time?
So, like I said, like as I mentioned before, as a constituent, like we can only request the Congress for help, and if the administration is willing to move in that direction, they will move. So our job at this time, instead of just speculating, we can request our congressmen or congresswomen, like the House representative and like the state senators. We can request the senators, like for each state there are like 2 senators. You can call up their office or visit their office or go to the website and email them. Say like even if you're even though we are immigrants, even though if we have stayed in this country for 1 or 2 years, we are still eligible to reach out to the Congress for any help. So I've reached out to them regarding this legislative help to give us green cards sooner, and they welcomed me into the office, and they said like they will support legal like immigrants, and they said like they noted out all the issues, and they said like they'll definitely support to clear this one. So they also said like they are only hearing out from very less immigrants. If more and more Indian immigrants reach out to their office, they will act faster and we'll get much sooner solution.
I hear you. We need to keep the issue alive, and we need to tell the representatives that there is a whole lot of people and a whole lot of families that are affected by this issue, and so they have to bring a solution to this faster. Alu Alaji, what do you have to say about this?
So I'll just take on a couple of points. Like you mentioned, there is no denying there is a big backlog, especially for the Indian community. And I guess the other two countries would be China and Mexico. I think Philippines is also included.
Yes.
And if my memory is correct, I think the Indian backlog for India engineers is 2008. That
Right.
means people who applied for a green card in 2008 may be getting it sometime this year or next year. So it's already a 10-year backlog and will only keep going up. And Rajesh mentioned earlier, there has been some movement within the legislative body, both in Congress and senators. But I doubt that they'd be able to enact anything because they haven't been able to do it since 2000.
Yeah.
The last one, that comprehensive immigration bill, last one was by President Clinton. And so I think for the folks who are waiting, whether it's 10 years or longer, what I would say, the first thing is keep maintaining, stay within the law. So there's no opportunity to be out of status for one reason or the other. Two, I would encourage them, if they have the opportunity and the means, maybe they want to increase the education level. So maybe they can move up from an EB3 to EB2 to the one outstanding. So because there's a shorter time spaces there. And three, I think, and probably the most important, is to get engaged within your community and to get politically engaged, to move. So if you know friends and families who've been here long enough to become citizens, encourage them to become citizens so they can advocate for you and vote for you, because only citizens can vote. And so you want to encourage everybody who knows who qualifies to be a citizen to become a citizen, vote, and really to go to your local congressman. As a green card holder, you have a right to go and talk to them and ask them and tell them and encourage them to support you in creating a good community here.
Thank you. So while we all understand that immigration is a complex issue to solve, and there have been efforts to solve it, it will take a long time to solve this problem. But no revolution has been limited to like one or two people. We started a small group called Skilled Immigrants in America with a handful of people. Today we have 155,000 people on Facebook. I would really encourage everybody to come look on what we are doing through our website siia.us. You can also join us on the state chapters at siia.us/join-us or reach out BDC TV. With that, I would like to thank my panelists for being here today with us and providing their side of the story and really deep insights into the issue. I would like to request my panelists to provide a final feedback on what they have to say.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me over here. And I would say if you are a legal immigrant, you have nothing to be feared about. So you can, I would suggest that, do not hesitate to communicate, reach out to people, talk to them, and they are there to help you out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Rajesh?
so I'll also like to tell the same thing. Like, if share your stories with Congress, go to your offices and like seek legislative help. So yeah, so and also reach out to people who have Indians who have like citizenship, and also people who have green card. So ask them to like call the Congress or like support candidates who support legal immigration. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Alwalaji.
Rubal, thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity of participating in
My
this
pleasure.
forum. I would just say is that I am assuming I and the viewers all came here with a pretty simple proposition that America is a great country and it's a place for opportunity, and it still exists. And I would encourage everybody to reach out within the community to achieve their purpose and make full use of the opportunities. And obviously, if you have legal questions, feel free to contact me or contact the two organizations that's putting together this roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you.